And I want to begin with a question. How will God pronounce your name? How will Jesus pronounce your name when you're standing in the hall of justice? How will God pronounce your name when you're standing in the hall of judgment? When you're standing before the great white throne, how will God pronounce your name? When you're looking at the edge of eternity and those are getting ready to move into eternity, how will God pronounce your name? That's the text we look at. Notice what he said. Mary hath chosen the right thing. Hal hath chosen the right thing. Jeff hath chosen the right thing. Bob hath chosen the right thing. Notice, Mary had to make a choice. And that's what God is concerned with. Martha, you are troubled. Martha, you are distressed. You are confused. Martha, you are all upset because you've chosen the wrong thing. Notice how the text begins. I love when the text begins, and it came to pass, because that means that God is moving along through history, and he's ready to start acting in your life. He's ready to make things start happening. And just as simple and subtle as it can be, as a breeze starts to blow, you suddenly see the hand and the Spirit of God starting to work, and it comes to pass that he entered a certain village. Now, this was a village where he was used to being loved. His friends were there. These were people that he knew and he cared for, and he always went out of his way with his ministry to wind up here. And he entered a certain village. He knew they would take good care of it. He knew that all of his needs would be met there. He would have refreshment and relaxation. And he entered into that certain village. And there was a certain woman named Martha. Now, Martha means mistress. It means she who is in charge. It means the boss. It means the one who is responsible for what's taking place. And Martha was just this way. She was responsible. And she was going to receive him into her house. Can you imagine? If somebody you really respected, somebody you really revered, was coming to visit town, and they were coming to your house because it was the best house, and you were going to give them dinner. Can you imagine what it'd be like when she revered him and she received him into her house? He's coming to my house. He's going to be my guest. He is coming to a dinner. This is my reputation on the line. I mean, I want it right. We're going to do this thing up grand. It's going to be good. It's going to be absolutely important. And she had a sister. Now, the sister wasn't quite so responsible. The sister had had kind of a checkered life. She was the younger daughter, not so responsible. She was much prettier and not quite as smart. And so she got involved with some bad company, and she wound up having a difficult life because her beauty got her in trouble. and she had to be redeemed and called and pulled out of a bad life by the ministry of Jesus Christ. And so it says that she sat at Jesus' feet. He would preach, and she would listen. He would teach, and she would listen. He would give the good news of the gospel that God can touch and transform your life, and she received that like a thirsty ground. She just absorbed all that water because it was there. And she had a sister who heard his word. There was nothing more important to him, nothing more important to her, that she should hear him. Nothing more important than that she should be able to absorb that which had touched, had transformed, had taken a life which was headed in the wrong direction, turned it around, and got it moving in the right direction. But Martha was busy with many, many things. Martha was running here and there. You know all the details that need to be done before a dinner. You need to set the silver, then you need to set the plates, then you need to put the napkins out, trip upon trip around. You know how it is when you've got the meat dish cooking and you've got the vegetable dish cooking, and you got to get them all coordinated, and you got to get them all coming out, and everything's got to be cut and sliced, and everything's got to be cut and diced at just the right time. You want it to be absolutely perfect. And so here's Martha, just absolutely upset, running here and there, doing everything she can to make the dinner perfect. And finally, in her flurry of running around, she comes to him and she says, "Lord, dost thou not care that my sister has left me to do all the work?" Now, I want to ask you a question. Do you think a preacher is more interested in the message or the menu? Huh? I mean, here's a man who spent his whole life studying the Word so that he can preach and teach. You think he's more interested in the message that he's delivering or the menu? And she comes to him and says, "Lord, tell my sister to stop her ministry so she can get involved in my ministry."
Yeah.
You know, my answer is, if your ministry is putting on the meal, and that's what you consider primary, then you put on the meal.
Yes.
Not that the meal is not important, it's absolutely important. But the message is absolutely important at the same time.
Yes.
And Jesus just absolutely dripping with love. Jesus absolutely pouring love out of every pore for Martha. He is trying not to reprimand her. He's trying not to be hard. He's trying to make the message of reality that we're all heading for heaven and the world is going to hell. He's trying to make the message that it is imperative that you understand the gospel of Jesus Christ, because without that you have nothing.
Amen.
He's trying to pour that message into the world, and they're not getting the message. Lord, dost thou not care that my sister has left me to serve? Change her ministry, Lord. Make her a servant. And Jesus says, "Martha, Martha." Whenever Jesus says your name twice, pay attention.
Yes.
When he says the name a second time, you know he's not talking to the mind, he's talking to the heart. He's talking to the spirit. And Jesus says, "Martha, Martha." He reaches out to her. But I want to point out that he's reaching out in love.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want to hurt her. He wants to awaken her. He wants to make her aware of some realities that she has missed in life. It's not that the meal is not important, but it's that the message is equally important. And the message has to come first, or the meal has no meaning.
Yes.
Thou art careful. I like the word careful because if you separate it, it's full of cares. And you're filled with cares up to the top and you're brimming. You're filled up to the top and you're absolutely dropping everything absolutely everywhere. You are absolutely filled with cares. You are troubled about everything. There are troubles to your troubles, to your troubles, to your troubles. You have all of these troubles. You're troubled. You're distraught over so many things. But Mary hath chosen one thing. One thing. Mary has chosen one thing. She's looking at eternity.
Mm.
She's looking at the existential reality that her life needs the help of God in order to get going. She is looking at the one thing. And you see, God says, he lays out so simply here. He says, how do you think God will pronounce that name? How do you think God will speak that name? And when she's done, how do you think God is going to speak her name? And we look and see, and he says, Mary hath chosen the good part, and it shall not be taken from her. I think it's important that we serve. I think it's important that we be there. I think it's important that we do that. But everything that we do is to bring people into a living, dynamic relationship with Jesus Christ. And he says, Mary hath chosen the good part, and I'm not going to be the one to take it from her. I'm not going to be the one to remove it from her. That good part is the part that she needs to have. You know, it's amazing because in the same way, Holy Cross Church is making the choice that Mary and Martha made. In a larger way, our church is making a choice on how we will move forward into the future, and we will serve God. And we're seeing so many people who say, well, I used to come, it used to be big, it used to have youth, it used to have this, it used to have that, but I don't think I'll come anymore. We tell them we're moving to another location with a bigger building, with a better building, with possibly a better music program. We're moving to a larger location, and their choice is, well, if we don't have the same building, I don't think I'm going to minister to those people around me. If we don't have the same building, I don't know that I will have the same God that I'm going to worship every single Sunday. You see, I've had COVID. We've been through this, and I don't know that I'll ever be back to serve God in the same way I did. And what we see is that Holy Cross is making a choice. And I want to compliment those of you who are here, because you've made the choice to serve God. You've made the choice to bless people. You've made the choice to carry the ministry on in a greater, more dynamic, in a much bigger way than we've ever done before. You've made the choice to serve God. While to so many, God is saying, Martha, Martha, your cares are piled sky high. Your worries are up to the heavens. Your troubles are absolutely everywhere. And your distress has bound you to your house. And I do believe that God is speaking to those of us who are here on a rainy Sunday morning.
Mm.
It rained just for my sermon this morning. Because you made the choice. I'm going to come and meet God, and I'm going to meet him wherever he is, and I'm going to meet him wherever he shows up, and I'm going to meet him wherever he sends me, because that's the most important thing in my life. That is your choice. And God's blessing is upon you. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, keep your heart and your mind in Jesus Christ, our Lord.